Oh, this is going to be fun. Welcome back, everybody, to Work Life 360. Ene, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today and kind of talk about your journey. And after our encounter on Camelback Mountain, where you broke out in song with your friends, we had a conversation. It was really one of those it's a small world kind of moments because all of you are in our industry in the supply chain. So anyway, I want to first thank you for the beautiful moment that you created for all of us on top of that mountain. And we have some pictures to capture that and, some fun conversations and really being open to talking not only on top of Camelback in 110-degree temperatures, but then also, connecting and being open to have a conversation today about you, even your friends, and what you're doing in this space and what your journey's been like and kind of how you have evolved into this space. So I'm really curious to learn. I have a lot of background in academics, so I'm really curious to find out what your learning experience has been at Iowa State and how that's learning experience has brought you into this industry and what it's been like for you. So open to anything you want to talk about. Really excited.
All right. Thank you for inviting me. Actually, it was so nice to see you back in Arizona, in Phoenix. It was a great experience seeing you there up the mountain. I really enjoyed it. Well, I started my journey, I guess, I was born in Africa. I was born in the DRC and then been a refugee for a while. And then I lived in Burundi and Kenya. And then I moved here in 2016, 2016.
Okay. How's that transition been for
Well,
you?
it's been I'll say dramatic. It's been a very kind of tough sometimes, but everything has been worked well.
Just from our little interaction on the mountain, you seem to have a kind heart and like a genuine, good spirit, positive spirit. So what are some things you think I can't even imagine, moving to another country after all your previous experiences and now, wow, I can only imagine that it can be overwhelming coming to the States. So how do you feel your transition went, like in terms of your wellness and how did you support your wellness so that you could go to school and have all these opportunities, and not clam up or feel isolated?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Well, as I said, I've been a refugee for, I would say, for the entire of my life. And then just coming here, like decided to go to school, like I had to get my mental health together, not to accept distraction getting to my life. As you know, as young people, we get a lot of distractions. So we can get distracted very, very easily. And for me, seeing, hey, I came from my country, I've been moving like for the entire of my life, that can be a big distraction. But I was always positive. I was always thriving, talking to positive people, always chasing. Yeah.
So you probably had a core group of people around you that you surrounded yourself that had a similar mission of kind of being positive spirited people. Did you move by yourself with your family? Did you move with other students, I take it? Or did you have a support group, or did you create that support group once you were here and kind of tested the waters a
Well,
little
I
bit?
first came with my grandmother, and then we stayed in Des Moines, Iowa. And then a year from that, my family came. So I came a year ahead of my family. And then we kind of stayed together.
Hmm.
from that time.
Oh, how many family members do you have?
Oh,
What does that look like? You all living
yeah.
together?
I have 6 other siblings.
Cool. Oh,
Yes.
wow. Oh. So what are they doing? Are they also looking at opportunities through school or just through relationships in your where
Yes,
you're
as
living?
I'm the oldest, so I try to set that example. So they also go to school. I have two of my siblings, they're in college right now. Others they're in high school and some are there in high school. I mean, high school and middle school.
So you probably were helpful because you had that 1 year experience here
Yes.
before them, so you could kind of help them
Yeah.
adapt a little better. What were some things that you communicated to them to kind of help them maybe work through some struggles that you had when you first came to the
Yeah, like for
States?
me, I would say I'm a first generation, like going to college, and it was kind of tough. Like for me, just go to like it was a different system. How we learn in Africa is different how they learn here in America. And then I had to
And how so? How so? I'm
like
curious to
in
learn.
Africa we use more of
Okay.
books. Like we write our notes in the books, and then here it's more of computers. It's more of electronics. It's more of just everything. So like as you
Mm-hmm.
can imagine, I didn't know like how to what the like classroom stuff on an email, getting like doing my schoolwork on a computer. I didn't have any of that experience. But coming here was a big
Okay.
shift. I had to adapt very quickly to catch up. So I've been talking to them, to my siblings. Hey, let's make this. Let's get ourselves some skill tools, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an incredible shift. I come from academics, so as a teacher for most of my life, really, it was always kind of what you talked about, like books. You sign readings, and now I would say, since maybe the '90s, we started to see a shift. I mean, but even like for the country, well, actually for the globe with COVID, pretty much everything, all schooling went technology
Right.
focused or technology based, and that was, I can tell you, for a lot of people, really hard. So you kind of had an
Right.
edge because you had a little bit of
Hmm.
that experience. Yeah, it's just we all have different learning styles, and you know. It's interesting to see people that are more open and more
Hmm.
flexible and curious about opportunities tend to weather that transition a little easier than
Hmm.
some folks. So kudos
Thank
to
you.
you. Do you find you have a preference for either or do you like a mix of everything?
I think I like mix of everything. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. So, in terms of my education, it was all in person until I went for my PhD. And part of my PhD was online and part of it was in person. And I can remember, wow, the amount of time, energy, and efforts that it took to learn a system, and then, if you're not technology savvy, like learning little things like the importance of backing
Hmm.
up your work, like, and my computer crashed. And I remember in school, like losing all my work and having to starting all over. I grew up in a time where we actually used
Mm.
typewriters. So it's just, it's just interesting to see, things continue to evolve and we as humans, being open to adapting, particularly in the space that
Right.
we work in, is really, really important. To how you can show up mentally prepared, still be creative, still feel
Right.
connected. But I do, like you, like I still like a hardcover book or something tangible to touch. And, we all learn in different modalities. I mean, even audio or video or it's just interesting to see technology is definitely going to be more integrated into the way we
Hmm.
live. So, hopefully your siblings are
Oh
enjoying
yeah,
the process.
it's
Yeah,
kind
they
of
like
tough,
it.
but they have to like it.
Hmm. Is there any friction anywhere? Like, does anybody not feel maybe certain things they're open to using technology, or is it pretty well
Well, as I
received?
said, like it was a kind of big challenge to me, and then same as for my
Hmm.
siblings as well, because this is their first time learning English. So you can imagine that
Oh, so wow.
they used to
Yeah.
learn in French, and they were in
Mm-hmm.
a refugee camp. So few resources for students, and then coming here, having all these technology stuff, having all these opportunities, it might be tough for them, but they have to do it.
Do they have enough resources or people to help them with that transition? Because I know, just as again as a faculty member, we understand that, especially today, we have students from all over the country. So it's really important to meet students where they are and provide them resources and learning opportunities to help them, and also do it in a way where we're um, being supportive of them and and patient and understanding that learning happens in different styles and at different levels and different speeds based upon a person's former experience and how they're transitioning in school. So I hope that they have enough resources to help them, tutors or whatever it is that they may need, and not feeling like so much pressure that it gets overwhelming. So I hope they
Right. They
have
have a
that.
lot of resources, and I did get those resources as well. I went to high school here for 2 years and a half. All the ESL classes that they offer for like
Mm-hmm.
English as second language students, all those resources, computers, books, just everything that they needed. They did get those resources. Yes.
Good. How did that experience feel for you?
I felt
Like,
like it was very, very welcoming to see these people like care about your education, care about your
mm-hmm,
future. I did like that, and it made
mm-hmm.
my transition very smooth by getting this stuff together. Yes.
That's good. Did Were you provided any mentors, like people?
I I
Go
did
ahead.
not have like specific mentors, but we had like the ESL teachers. They're very flexible. You
Mm-hmm.
can talk to them anytime. You can ask any questions, and they will help you really like everything.
Oh, that's
Yes.
fantastic. I don't know what it's like in Iowa, but I know in Arizona there's a lot of support because there's, in terms of language barriers, and even like social economic systems that maybe aren't up to par. There are a lot of resources out there, but if I mean, I can only imagine coming from another country, if you're not aware that there are resources available to you, not even think to ask, it can really be overwhelming. So
Hmm.
again, want to commend you. I mean, I can't even fathom what that's like. I born and raised here, and I think kudos to you and the fact that you're supporting your family, your siblings here now. And what are some short-term or long-term aspirational goals that you have, particularly now that you're at
Right.
TMC? If you could talk a little bit about how you ended up there. Was it through your internship and what's that been like for you?
So I go to Iowa State University. as a supply chain major. And then we do have these career nights where we do have a bunch of companies coming to our school and they offer students internship jobs after college. So they came to the career fair and then I talked to them. Then they offered me an internship. And then I went from there, I applied and then went through the orientation and trainings. And I'm happy to work for them.
Oh, that's awesome. How long was your internship and how did they introduce you to the culture there at TMC?
I did start my internship in May 16th of this year. And then the last day of internship, I believe it was last week on Friday. But they offered me an extension, which I'll be still working there as a part-time through the fall semester. Yes.
Okay, so you are
Yes.
still in school. Ah, okay. Yeah, I didn't put those two and 2 together. Wow, so
Yes.
that's pretty cool. What do you think has been the most interesting thing that you've learned during your internship that maybe you didn't know from the books or from, the online learning?
That's kind of tough one, but well, I came to realize that everyone has his own or her own learning style. And as I said, I did talk this at my work as well. I told people that we should be patient with people because we don't know how they learn. Like some people might be like visual learners. Some people might be like just imagination, So just be patient with people. They will get it as they go.
So what are some of the main responsibilities that you may have as an intern that you're really liking, and then some things that you're interested in?
So as an intern, it's a brokerage company. So I do talk to our customers, like TMC customers, and then we do book loads, and then we find like drivers, or we find freights who can take our loads to our customers. And then I'm also responsible to make a very good connection to those drivers or to those fleet companies so that they can take our loads. Yes.
Okay. So is one of the gentlemen that I met with you on top of the mountain, he was a truck driver. Do you have interaction with the truck drivers? Or
yes, I do.
How does that work?
Yes, I do.
You are?
Well, I do get like the loads from our LSR, and then I do source capacities. So in that moment, I do talk with drivers to see their availability, to negotiate the pricing, all those kind of stuff.
Do you like that?
I do love it. I do love it, actually.
Yeah, you seem to have a social spirit about you. So, sometimes we find ourselves in these positions where we're using a lot of technology. We may not engage in social interaction, or everything's done via, texting or emails or whatever, but there's nothing like, having a conversation, picking up a phone and interacting with a person like you, like seeing your face and hearing your voice and laughing. And I think that's all pretty important. What are you curious to learn since you've been in this space a little while?
I'm a little curious about how, like, in 30 years from now, we see all these changes, like innovation keeps going on, I'm so curious to learning how this transition will be, where where we have different technology, and then how that's gonna work with transportation, with logistics, with brokerage companies, all that kind of stuff. Yes.
Mm. It was interesting. I was listening to someone talking about automation, and I think you have a certification or something in robotics automation. And there's this fear even with drivers or people in different industries, not just our
Right.
own, how technology and automation is taking over. But if you look at the research and the literature, really it's our jobs, those task oriented jobs are becoming kind of obsolete, but we're able to, how should I say this in a way that makes sense? There are still more opportunities. They're just requiring more creativity, in us to think about work in a different way. There's ample opportunities for jobs. They're just going to look very different. And while technology can help maybe get rid of some of the risks involved in certain jobs, like a truck driver sitting all day or a factory worker, and how they're moving their bodies, there's still always a place for the driver or for the factory worker. It's just the job's going to look a little different. So that's kind of where I've been kind of interested to follow, and going back to automatic or automated fleets. There's still a component where that human interaction is going to be really important. So I think, people are kind of worried about things that if they shift their focus, it's really kind of exciting. I mean, if you can reduce driver fatigue and accidents and just make the whole experience more customer service, customer care based, and take some of the risk out, I think it's a good thing. So I don't know if with your conversations with folks you work with, if you kind of talk about that stuff.
Well, we haven't talked a lot about it, but I did talk to one of the guy at my work, and then I think he said that we still have more room, because as we do like flatbed, so even if we get like those automated fleets, we still need some people to be back there striping those loads, being there to put the tarps on those loads. So we still need some people to perform some type of work, right?
Yeah, that's kind of the way I see it. Like, it's not really taking away jobs, just the focus of your job is going to shift. So then maybe you have a little more energy, a little more bandwidth to pay attention to those little things that maybe when you're tired, you're just going, checking off a box. So I see it as a plus. So, so in terms of your transition here and, learning another language and putting yourself through school and gaining education, and now through your internship, what have been some of the best things or the best experiences that you've had that motivate you to keep your mindset, kind of that positive spirit that you have still?
I always,
despite some struggles, I would imagine. How do you do
it? I always think that I'm not the only one who's going through this. And I think as simple as this way, if someone else can do it, why not me? Like, I'm not the only one who's gone through this. Even my siblings are going through this. Even I know some other people that are going through this. So if they can do it, why not me? So it's just like that kind of self-motivations and talking to people. I do like talking to people who did it first. They give me some tips and some advices to follow, or maybe I can pick it up and use them. Yes. Well, sometimes it's a it's a struggle, of course, but we have to follow the way.
What's something that's been, well, I can only imagine what's one thing that's been really challenging besides, the language barriers, and then, learning a second language, and, adopting to different cultural perspectives even.
Yeah, I do speak almost 5 languages actually. And
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
English is like my last one, if I say that. So coming here, like at home, I don't speak English. I do speak my home language, and then I only speak English at
Mhm.
school with my friends who speaks English. So coming here, like into these classes, you find 200 students in there, and then just one teacher or one professor is teaching. Sometimes it's hard to listen. Sometimes it can be like you have to process what the professor is talking about. So so
Right.
if other students take 30 minutes to learn for something, I do take an hour to learn for that. So it's like I do extra just to get to the point where others are.
Mm. Yeah, the only inference I can make, because, and it's not even close to what you're learning to navigate, is my master's degree is in disaster medicine and
Mhm.
management. So, and my bachelor's degree was
Mhm.
exercise science. So I was in a program, a very high level program at a major university in Philadelphia with medical
Mhm.
professionals, doctors, medics, and the language, like, for me to, so I'm kind of trying to
Right.
relate to what your experiences was like. I had to do so much research to just be in the class to stay afloat, because I felt like I was
Right.
sinking every day because they're speaking and using terminology. I mean, like the word triage. I had no idea what triage was. So for me to learn what a triage was and what it's like in a medical field versus, a war zone, like that was like, they didn't have, you
Mhm.
say the word, they knew. So I'm just giving that as one example, but like, and coding and all of this, like this was a whole nother language. And I remember, feeling really
Mhm.
inadequate. Like, what? Do I even belong in this
Right.
class? Like, why? How did they let me
Right.
in this program? I had no idea. And I remember a couple students saying something, because I would ask a lot of questions. I wasn't afraid to ask a lot of questions because I really wanted to understand, like you said, what the professor was talking about. So I felt like I was always behind. So, I would sit in the front and ask a lot of questions. And I had another student say something to me that was kind of judging me for asking questions. And it was, I felt good enough in our relationship to have a conversation like, look, I have no idea what you're talking about 60% of the time. And I have to go home and like really do my due
Mhm.
diligence to learn about terminology and processes that you're talking about that, are way above my educational or
Right.
experiential level. And the only way for me to learn is by asking questions, and like you said, we all learn different ways. I need to ask questions so that I can even come close to catching up to the conversation that they're having. So I always felt a little far behind, but I was comfortable enough to say that. So then it was like, oh, well, let's help you out. And then it was like kind of formed like little study groups. So, and that was really
Mhm.
helpful for me. But, I can imagine for everybody, not everybody's comfortable
Mhm.
saying that. Um, you know, so do you have, or is that something that you found that you've had to have conversations, or is everybody aware of that? Because a lot of people aren't even aware of it. We're all at different learning stages, and for some of us, it takes a lot longer. So
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that
Mhm.
either, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I don't think a lot of people are aware of that, but I think I just had to go through for myself. Like just find that time, provide that time for you to learn. Sometimes I do see my roommates, they only go for 30 minutes. They get something and I'm like, why? How are you getting that in 30 minutes? And then
Are they getting it, or are they just thinking they get it?
maybe they think it, but I hope they do get it. But for me, I have to invest extra time, like take an hour or maybe 2 hours to go through that. Yeah, I think it's something that has to be addressed, actually.
Hmm. Yeah, I think definitely even different people coming into our industry, because now we've been more exposed on the media and now people have an idea about what supply chain is. When you come into this space, again, it's like another world because there's all this lingo, and so, trying to learn lingo, trying to learn new practices in a new country and having to switch the way you're thinking and how you're retaining information. Honestly, that's, a wonderful skill that you have that could be, you should be commended for. I mean, I took Spanish in school and I know a couple prayers, but I really, really struggled with learning another language. And if I would say to folks listening, I think it's a beautiful thing to teach your children multiple languages and different cultural traditions as well, because having more diverse landscape really opens us up to opportunities where we can solve some of the big logistical problems that we're having, and doing in a way that's facilitating conversations where everybody feels included in the conversation, and they're willing to raise their hand if they have a conversation or if they have a question. So I think that's important.
Yeah, also my
So,
advisors have been very helpful. Like they do provide time to talk with students. So I will also encourage students who are going through that to talk to their advisors, to talk to people who they feel comfortable talking to. Yeah, so that they can get that help.
yeah, I would echo off that, particularly if anybody young's listening to this, is just like there are people in professions that are excellent leaders, excellent motivators, excellent employee development kind of per people. There are leaders, including teachers, that they do a disservice, and they're not as patient and they're not as open to having conversations to students. And sometimes it's just because there's a lack of care or a lack of empathy or a lack of compassion. And we see that in all professions. So if you're not getting support that you need from any advisor you're having, ask for another advisor. I would say the same thing if you're in a class and you're feeling that you're not being treated in a fair way, ask for another teacher. And I can say there have been one or two times where I've had to kind of put that out there. So I think so-and-so is, they're all about them and they're not all about the students. So I would prefer not to have that teacher again. I mean, I've done it and I'm a 40, 50-year-old adult. So speak up for yourself. I think that's really important. Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yes. Well, I would say maybe I was very blessed to have such beautiful or welcoming advisors at my school. Every time I make an appointment with them, I go there, they're willing to talk to me. They're willing to see different strategies that we can work together so that I can get what I need. I'm very thankful for that. And I do appreciate them too.
Yeah. So what are you preparing for now during your internship or through your schooling, and how much longer
I
do you
only have two more semesters left. So this is my last year at school. And I'll be doing that with my internship as well as a part-time. full-time student, full-time student and part-time working. So I've been doing that, and then I'll be done in May, this coming May, and we'll see from there.
Okay. Took my brain a minute just to think when May was. I can't imagine 5 different languages. The transition's happening. Took me a minute just to think, when is May?
Yeah.
So with your internship, will you stay with TMC or will they have you go somewhere else? Or well, you had said that they extended your
They extended my internship. So I'll be there this fall. Yeah, but I don't know anything about after that.
Oh, yeah, I'm curious, with your school, do they require you to do more than one internship or they allow the flexibility where you can stay with one company?
It doesn't matter, actually. It's all about you. But I think it might be good to have different experience from different companies, but it's not like necessary.
Okay. So what part of the supply chain community really interests you the most? Like, what are you excited about? I know there's so much, but it's probably a long question to answer.
Well, I think I only talk about my experience, like being at TMC. I didn't know how that would look like. But going there, I found that everyone was very friendly, and they were like a family to me. Like, they were ready to answer any question. I had a bunch of questions. They were ready for me. They were like, hey, we'll help you this. My managers, my supervisors, my coworkers, they are very, very great to me. They did whatever it took them so that I can be successful. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So is there a part of your job during the day that you really, really like doing a lot? Or have you noticed since you've been there different parts of the company where you're not working in a certain capacity where you're really interested in? As you've gotten to know people in the company, like you notice something they're doing, you're like, oh man, I might like to, explore this a little more. Or find out.
Okay,
more.
I'll say something good by that TMC did is like they offer rotation to interns so that they can see different sides, how it looks like. And last week was my last day where I was in operations, like fleet management and planning. So I think I liked it, and maybe I have some more time to learn more about it. I did.
Yeah. What did you like about that? What did you like?
It's just like talking to drivers and, hey, I have this option. So do you want to take this option? Do you want to take this option? Just that kind of experience. I think it was good. Yeah, it's also like helping people. Like you help these drivers, they do a lot of stuff. So by helping them, trying to make their life easier as they go through that, it's not an easy job, but helping them, it's very, very good. I liked it.
When you're speaking with them, do they happen to point out anything that frustrates them that you're able to maybe give them some pointers? Or having you had that kind of interaction with them? Just curious.
I didn't have much time to talk with them because I was training. I was an intern. But from what I had, so like a lot of drivers, they care about their families. So you gotta work hard to get them to be home, like every weekend, to see their families whenever they want to. They want to be around their kids. They want to be around their wives and
Mm-hmm.
husbands. Yeah, they need to get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious, like 5, 10, even 20 years from now, I really hope that that changes for them, because that's, our social connection is, if you look at any research on health and longevity, the most important relationship for our health and well-being is our relationships with others. So creating opportunities for them to connect with their family is really, really, really important. And for the long haul drivers that are gone, for so long, I'm hoping that we can come up with ways, maybe with automated driving, that will help somewhat. So where they're maybe not
Right.
having to be gone so many days of the week, making some of those routes maybe a little shorter. So maybe they're only gone a few days, because some of them might like to get away a little bit, and like a little bit of that time where they're just focused on what they're doing. But yeah, when they're stuck in detention and, things happen and a route is taking so much longer due to issues outside of their control, I think we need to create opportunities for them to feel supported mentally, physically, socially, and giving them time to do whatever they need to care for their health and well-being. So, I'm all about advocating for truck drivers and their health and their safety, and,
Thank you for that.
But so what about your friends that were on top of the mountain with us? They're all in this space as well. Can you talk a little bit about where they are and what they're doing, and how did you all connect?
Actually, yes, we're family. Like, one of them was my brother. He goes to school. He goes to college. He's in second year right now. He's doing some web development. And then another one is my cousin. He's a truck driver as well. And then another one was a truck driver. He's his own operator. So he has his own truck. He dispatches himself. So yes.
Wow. Where's he out of?
He's in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, actually. Yes.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. We have to connect. That's awesome. And he looked pretty in shape and looks like he took care of himself.
He did.
Anybody can go look at the post that we have up there of all the 5 of us. What do you do? What have you found important for you and to take care of your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your social health, and all that? What have you found helpful since you've moved here?
Well, I came here, and then the first thing I realized in America, everyone is busy. Everyone is busy. Like, there's no time to waste. You're doing school, family, you're doing job, you're doing what, and then you have to find time for exercise and to get your busy. Right. So for me, it's like I don't get that much time to work out, but I do try my best and just try to find some more time to go, maybe in the gym, maybe go for a run, maybe do some cardio work, just to refresh.
You like
sometimes.
The cardio too? Yeah. Oh, I'm a cardio junkie.
I do it sometimes, but as I said, you can go to school, you can go to work, but you gotta find some time to work out, to get your health, to get your mental health together, to stay in shape, Yeah.
And that is definitely a challenge when you're in school and trying to hold a job or doing an internship. ran many student recreation centers before I came into this space. That's actually what I've done all my life is ran student recreation centers. And when I was at Georgetown Law, back in the day, before they built the Georgetown Law Sport and Fitness Center, now the Scott K. Ginsburg Fitness Center, there was just like a little room, and that was a really high stress environment, a lot of international students. And there was a gentleman, actually, Scott K. Ginsburg. He became a really successful lawyer and said that in order to prevent, a little bit of a dark topic here, like suicide rates among students, depression, anxiety, and some substance or alcohol use issues, it was really important to provide a gym or some type of outlet for them to get together, to socially connect, to take that time off from the busyness of studying academics and working, particularly in Washington, D.C., which is where that law center is. He donated millions of dollars to the school, and part of that donation required them to build this magnificent student recreation center, which I was able to oversee. So, for anyone out there who has young folks in school, I saw this often, in my journey, where students really didn't prioritize their health and well-being. And as a result of trying to cope with, trying to keep up and to learn, some of their health habits were not the most healthiest. And some things that I saw over the 20 years that I was in that space was a lot of caffeine, a lot of long hours, no sleep, a lot of like energy drinks, substance use issues, and not a lot of time really thinking about how food, what we eat, how we move our bodies, how we take a break. Like, it's really important to take a break. And if your body's sending you signals that it's tired, fatigued, and maybe you're feeling a little irritable, or you're having a problem learning something, then it's rest time. Like, find some way to practice mindfulness, or go for a hike, or go for a walk, or just listen to music, or be a kid again and have some fun and smile. That's just as important, in my opinion, as the learnings. So that's something I really try to communicate now that I'm in this space, in the corporate world for 6 years now. I see a lot of the same tendencies. So young professionals are really like students that I taught for decades. And it's all this, as you mentioned, the busyness of work, and then family responsibilities, and a lot of them are late 20s, early 30s. It's just a lot to shuffle, because honestly, we've created an environment in this country where the expectations are you kind of work for the job, or the job is the main focus, and then we lose our self-identity and things that are really important to us. And then that's where, we start to see burnout, stress, anxiety, health issues, type 2 diabetes, people having strokes, all kinds of food allergies and different autoimmune issues that was not the case in this country 20 years ago. So, my advice to you is, as you have observed the difference from your country to the United States, I would say, I really hope you treasure that part of, it's okay to slow down, give yourself permission to not fall into the trap of capitalism, and working for, some financial reasons to get X, Y, or Z. But, you have a very large family, and everybody's here. So I hope that you all, are able to take the best of both cultures and blend them together, so you feel like you're living your best dream, because there are a lot of wonderful opportunities as well. It's just being mindful of your health. Like, your health is the most important thing. So
thank you for that.
So we tend to wrap up the podcast, giving folks an action item something to do or something to think about over the next week that can help them maybe feel more fulfilled, or something maybe that they haven't been paying attention to, and kind of just plant the seeds for some healthy, happy living? What's something that you would recommend?
Well, for me, I would say, as I said, everyone is busy. We all have 24 hours. And maybe you wonder, how come these people are getting enough time for this, I say, just get out there. It might be even a 10 minutes walk, like every week. It might be a 5 minutes walk. You don't have to do the extra. You only have to do the least ones that will keep going, Yeah, I say maybe try your best to find 5 minutes, maybe every 2 days, maybe every week, if it's not possible. That will keep you going.
I like that. And there's plenty of research out there showing that small bouts or small increments of exercise sprinkled in throughout the day, when you can, even as little as 2 to 4 minutes, really can change the way your body responds to everything that you're busy doing during the day. So I think that's a good one. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for your time coming on to the pod.
It was so nice to see you on the mountain.
The book's a little different than the hot, sweaty mess that you saw. But, yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for listening in. We hope you live your best life and, take to heart the messaging here today from the both of us. Take care. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.